It's no secret that times are tough, and sometimes people just need a bit of help. A quick and easy little loan can sometimes do the trick. Roger Lavadier frequently gets the help he needs from fast money lending businesses like Payday loans and cash money marts.
It's just quick and easy for me.
Businesses like these will lend small amounts of money, like a few $100, and ask you to pay them back within a very short time span, like a couple of weeks. No credit check needed. The problem, according to City Councillor Jeff Carlson, is that this type of lending targets the most vulnerable people.
It's folks living in poverty, or it's new Canadians, new arrivals to Canada. They haven't had time to build up a credit score or a credit rating. They can't access a traditional financial institution like a bank and go in for a loan like you or I could. So they were sort of they were being forced to take out these loans.
And recently, these establishments have been popping up all over town.
The issue with payday loans is not so much that they exist, it's the fact that we have such a large demand for them in our community.
Jeff McClarty is the former director of United Way and sat on a poverty reduction committee called Vibrant Lethbridge, along with its founding member, Jeff Carlson.
They were popping up. I think we had like 17 or something just suddenly spring up, which is always troubling.
To contrast that, we have 10 Tim Hortons. So there are more locations for payday loans than there are to get a good cup of coffee in the morning. And I think when we start to see that, those are things we really have to start to think about. Why is that happening in our community?
Both McClarty and Carlson believe it's indicative of a much larger problem.
We have a lot of folks living in poverty. We have one of the highest child poverty rates in Canada. It's very troubling to see that.
Troubling also because of the high interest rates these businesses were charging, and that can sometimes suck people into a never-ending cycle of borrowing, a challenge Lavadier can relate to.
Yeah, you kind of get stuck in a cycle, definitely, but I try and bring it down every time I come back here, but kind of then things come up and kind of got to loan a little bit more then. So, but yeah, it's kind of a vicious cycle, but it works for me.
I printed off an online payday lender, which are also available more and more prevalently in Alberta, and it says here they're actually required to state what interest rate charges are, and it says here $23 per $100 lent for a $300 loan for 14 days. Total cost of borrowing is $69. That means the annual percentage rate would be 599%.
Canada has laws that you can't charge over 60% interest on a loan, and yet when these are calculated, some folks are paying up to 600%.
Almost 600%, just under the legal limit. And I would suspect that many of the local payday businesses are in the same types of lending ranges.
That is, until the province put a stop to these outrageous interest rates. Bill 15 was introduced and came into effect in August to end what's now known as predatory lending. According to Service Alberta Minister Stephanie McLean, this legislation will end predatory lending practices that expose Albertans to vicious cycles of debt.
One, we cut the rate. We used to have one of the highest rates in Canada, I think second highest rate. It was $23 charged on every 100, had to be repaid in 2 weeks. We cut that by $8. We're now the lowest in Canada, so we're at $15 per 100, and they've extended the term that you can pay that back to 42 days, and you can pay it off in installments. It doesn't have to be one lump payment.
And while you hold one loan, you can't access another loan until you've paid the first one off.
Now with the new rates that they got, it's a lot cheaper to loan from them right now. So I like the new legislation. I think it's a lot better for me anyways, and helps me out a lot more in the long run.
For Go On Shaw TV, I'm Jeannette Rocher.